Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Jameson Files. I'm Carrie Weber with Jameson, and I'm your host, and I'm so grateful to those of you that are joining us live on Facebook, but also to those of you that continue to be a part of our Jameson Files community and follow along through our podcast channels, YouTube, and even the Jameson website. I am so thrilled on this frigid February day to be joined by the one and only Dr. Richard Madow. And for those of you that, if for some reason you don't know who Dr. Madow is, Dr. Madow and his brother, Dr. David Madow, have founded the Madow Center for Dental Practice Success, where they continue a lifelong purpose and pursuit of helping fellow dentists in our profession fulfill their careers to the best of their abilities. For me, some of my greatest memories of the Madow brothers is through their 25-year run of the best seminar ever, aka TBSE. And through that, great memories have happened for many, many dental professionals, and they are continuing their pursuit of continuing education and helping to support dentists through Dr. Madow's articles, webinars, and through his support in the work they do that you can find on Madow.com. But today, I have him for us on the Jameson Files as a very special guest. So, Dr. Madow, thank you so much for being with me today.
Carrie, it is absolutely my pleasure to be here. I'm really excited. I've known Kathy and John for decades. They've always been just the most upbeat, kindest, most ethical, most meaningful people, in dentistry. There are all kinds of crazy people in dentistry, of course. And I've just always been, always had the greatest respect for them, always been so much fun to be around them. And you and Jess have done an amazing job of taking Jameson management into the future for the next generation, staying relevant, all those great things that many businesses aren't able to pull off. So congratulations on the fantastic job you've done.
Thank you. And, before we get into content and education, I do have to make a nod to the instruments in Dr. Madow's background and just say, as a fellow musician, it's going to be all we can do to just not turn this thing upside down and start singing songs and naming off bands and music history and trivia. So from one musician to the other.
We'll save that for another time.
Right. Much respect for you and your brother and all the work that you do and continue to do for our profession. We're honored to know you and to be able to have this time together, and many hopes for great success and continuing work in the future. But today,
are you a vocalist, Mary? Are you a vocalist?
I am. I'm a singer, and I'm a terrible guitar player.
Join the club.
I mean, and if you give me about a week, I might be able to bang out a song on a piano. But, I've seen your stuff on social media. You have me beat on the instrumentation without a doubt.
Well, yeah, but it's all about the singing. And I have great memories of Kathy belting out this song, Oklahoma, from the great play. On stage at TBSE. I think it was after she had finished an incredible lecture, was about to get a standing ovation, and she said, "I just want to let everybody know where I'm from," and then boom, took it to the next level. So that was great.
Which was the perfect platform to do it. You and Dr. David were notorious for some really great musical numbers and bits during that, and you continue that now. I've seen some of your great stuff that you're putting out on Facebook, so it's fun. I love that about you guys. I love that.
All right, so I guess we better start talking about dentistry a little bit, huh? Yeah.
I know. Sorry, everybody. You've just got to hang with us. We have a lot of shared loves. Music and dentistry, you don't see a lot of that, a lot of those common denominators. But for today, something that you speak on and speak to quite frequently is from, more than likely, I would assume, your experience in all the conversations and work you've done with dentists over the years, but in addition to probably your own lessons learned over time. And we're going to talk about the dumb things that smart dentists do. And I love this. I love some of the things that you're going to share, and I want to give you some room to speak to this and chime in if I I have some feelings about several of these things that I think we're in agreement on. But let's talk about this from your experience and what you've learned over time, Dr. Rich. What are some of these things that you see happen time and time again that our dental friends are doing?
Yeah, it's funny. I've learned so many of these things, or learned how to avoid so many of these things, both in meeting so many great dentists and team members, over 30 or so years. But also, remember, I'm a dentist as well, and I had my own practice.
Yeah.
And I actually, after my residency and some horrible associateships, bought a bankrupt practice. So I was not only just at zero, I was below zero when I started. And it took me a while to learn many things the hard way. So I did so many of these dumb things. And, during the pandemic, we've all had to change the way that we teach. And, I was doing webinars instead of live lectures, as I'm sure you are as well. And
Yes.
I'm thinking I need to do a new webinar, freshen things up a little bit. So I started making these lists of things, and I wasn't sure what to call the webinar. And since we're talking about music, I had our local Baltimore College radio station playing, kind of blasting as I'm putting this list together. And they played this song from the late 80s called I've Done All the Dumb Things. And I love this song. It was by an Australian artist called Paul Kelly. Never really that huge of a hit in the US. So I'm putting this list together. In the background, I'm hearing, I've done all the dumb things. I'm thinking, wow, these are all dumb things that I've done. I've done them all. So why not call this new course that we're putting together, Dumb Things That Smart Dentists Do? And I just thought everybody could that would resonate with everyone, because we've all done them. So let's talk about the first dumb thing. How's that sound?
Yes. Yes, let's do it. I love this. Already I love this.
You and your group have been consulting with dentists for many, many years. So I'm sure you know this just like we do. So many times when dentists are looking for help with their practice, they come to you or they come to us and they say, we need more new patients. It's like a mantra, like a drug. We need more new patients. We need more new patients. It's the addiction. If only we had more new patients, everything will be great in our practices and great in our lives. That's the fix that we need. And then, of course, as you know, when you start taking a little deeper dive into it and you visit their practice or you look into their software, do an analysis of their data, you see that, sure, new patients are great, but you've got hundreds or thousands of patients who have already been through your doors, already took the effort to pick up the phone and call your office and make the appointment and come in, and they know where you are and they think you're great, but for some reason they've just kind of fallen into this black hole of patients who have been in, but they don't have an appointment. They're not active anymore, but they probably haven't found a new dentist. They probably haven't died. When the time comes, they're going to come to you. But wouldn't it be so much better if we could reactivate them and bring them back into our practice and put them on our schedule, instead of always thinking about what are some ways where we can get more new patients? Haven't you seen that?
Yes. Oh, yes. And, to piggyback on that, because I love number one, because I was actually just saying this the other day in another way, that we focus so much even on customer service, on the new patient experience, that we start to take our long-term patients a little bit for granted. That any efforts you're putting in your practice need to go across the board for everyone. Your patients that have been with you for 15 years also have the choice to go somewhere else, and some often do when they start to feel like you're not making them the priority. And just like you said, Dr. Rich, in terms of there is so much, something that I learned from my parents is that there's so much dentistry in your patient's record waiting to be done that you more than likely could never complete it in the coming years. And so often we put all of our focus, and I'm a huge proponent for external marketing when a practice is ready, because if you have the right systems in place and you're doing the right things, then you can support new patients while also getting the best possible result for your existing patients, so that they're not falling through the bottom as you're trying to fill it in through the top. So I couldn't agree more with you.
It's funny, we have a term for what you said about all the treatment that's just waiting to be done. We call it the $1 million file cabinet. And even though we don't use file cabinets anymore, it's all in our little computers. But, think about the old days when you walk into a dentist's office, and kind of like the way you would judge, is this a successful office, was if they had that humongous wall full of charts. But, that could look impressive, but little did we know there's $1 million worth of treatment in there that has never been done, and patients who, need to come in, but they haven't been properly contacted. So, the new patients are great, like you said, but we need to get off that fix and start working on our patients who have been in and need appointments or need treatment. It's just so much easier. It makes so much more sense. So that's one dumb thing. How's that? Should we keep going with some other dumb things?
Yes, let's do it. These are great. Keep going.
Okay, I'll skip around a little bit because I doubt we're going to have time to get through all 10 dumb things today, but we'll do a few fun ones.
Yes.
Okay, something that I've seen so many dentists do is, look, we're both dental educators. We love it when dentists take courses, both management and clinical. It's fantastic to go to a big meeting and look at all the new toys that are available. It's fun and it keeps us stimulated and interested in treating our patients. But so many times dentists think that buying that next expensive gadget is going to be the thing that takes their practice to the next level or saves their practice. And look, let's face it, these people who sell, I won't name any brands or specific pieces of equipment here, but these people who sell these six-figure technological marvels are highly trained, commissioned salespeople who are really, really darn good at what they do. And they're doing a great thing because you need the advice of a trusted salesperson to learn if this piece of equipment is good for you. But I think too many times they will position this as saying, if you buy this, it's kind of like build it and they will come. You buy this and they will come to your practice. And it's just so often not true. And unfortunately, we see dentists who have debt, whether it's student loans or practice debt. And now on top of that, they're now responsible for a $100,000 piece of equipment, thinking that that's going to be the thing that turns their practice around. And it's just not. It's just not the case. Just like you can market for new patients, you can buy this new equipment. But if you're not doing 100 other things right, this is not going to be the solution for you.
I agree, and something that we teach and we try to get the message across for people is, while the same for you, Dr. Madow, we're big proponents of staying on the cutting edge of dentistry, and there are so many great tools and so much great technology to help support your vision for your practice. But you got to know what that vision is first, what it is you want to accomplish ideally in your practice, so that you're making the correct purchases for the type of dentistry you want to provide and the type of practice you want to have. And then at the same time, so often practices and doctors are putting the cart before the horse. They buy the thing, but they have no plan or way forward to fully implement and maximize the thing. And then they're putting this in their practice with their team that doesn't know what it is or how to use it or completely intimidated by it. And that's when it never gets used, because we didn't put an implementation plan into place of how are we going to successfully implement this? How are we going to take the time to train everyone? Or how are we going to practice talking about it to patients? How are we going to schedule for it? Because if we don't have all those pieces of the puzzle in place, it doesn't get maximized, and you are just building debt upon debt. So much planning before the purchase even takes place can make it more successful and make sure you're investing in the right things for you, not just the thing that's right now.
I totally agree. Then that piece of equipment, it winds up sitting next to the Peloton that you had such high hopes for. But yeah, I'll tell you, there's something I said, and I want to make it clear. I have nothing against a technology like CEREC. I think being able to do a crown in the same day for a patient is a really cool thing. But I also say, I will only get that crown done if you can insert it the same day, said no patient ever. You're not going to lose a patient because you can't insert the crown the same day. But if you, as you said, if it's part of your whole plan where you show your patients how cool this thing is and how it benefits their time efficiency, well then, yeah, it can be a great thing for your practice. And also, it can keep the dentist more stimulated and happier, but it's not going to save your practice. Right. As you said, you need the whole plan, so it just won't do it.
Yes.
Kind of along the same lines, we'll move on to another dumb thing. I'm not from the South, so I'm from Maryland, and we're kind of in between the North and the South. So I think the Northerners think we're Southerners, the Southerners think we're Northerners. Nobody knows what we are. I love living in Baltimore, Maryland. It's a really cool place, just like you love OK City, which is a really cool place. But down south, which maybe to you is Texas, and to me it's like Georgia, they have a saying that's called that goes, "Dance with who brung ya." And I'll do that in my bad Southern accent. Dance with who brung ya. It's a great saying. It applies to all parts of our lives. And it's so true in dentistry. So many times I'll see a dentist that needs to improve their practice, but they want to dance with somebody who didn't bring them to the dance. And, so they'll get involved in, like, I don't know, they'll say, oh, my financial future, I'm going to invest in my nephew's brew pub, or I'm going to start belonging to this MLM where I've got to sell $80 bottles of lotion to all my patients. And if they can get 5 people, they can get 5, and they can get 5, I'll be a millionaire by the end of the year. Or, and I'm not sure what your opinion is on this, and of course I totally respect your opinions. I'm not a big fan of what some people call it the satellite office. I don't even like that term. Like, what does the satellite office mean? If you can't come to our real office, there's one that's like rotating around the moon, and you can come try to grab that one when it's closest to you. And then you wind up doubling your overhead and having the same problems, just twice as many. To me, I think who brung most dentists, and look, we both know many dentists who have succeeded in group practices and esoteric procedures, but to me, most dentists have the greatest chance of success having one office, one super busy office, doing the procedures that we do, that people need. Endo, core, and crown, scaling and root planing, just these kinds of things that everybody needs, and you can make them extremely profitable and extremely efficient. As your practice grows, you can add associates, and your plan can be the associates buy-in, whatever. That's who brung us. When you try to get too fancy or too esoteric, it usually just frustrates you and costs you money.
Dr. Madow, when we see people that are successful in basically having different arms and branches out, typically those are the ones that there's two variations of this. One, they have the gift, they have a knack of the business side, and their goal, again, talking about that vision, they get clear on a vision of what they want their career to be like, and it may not be that they want to be in the chair, they want to be leading and running a business. And so those business-minded people are the ones that you see having some pretty great success in multiple endeavors. There are others that aren't happy with where they are right now, and they think if they do it this way, then they're going or take different strategies or have all these different things going on, that they're going to find that satisfaction in the work that way, right? Or maybe it's the answer: if I acquire this, then I'll make more money, right? And I'll help with my financial struggle. Well, all of those, if you don't have the great foundations in the first business that you own, just like you're saying in that one practice, you're only building stress upon stress upon stress. And sometimes the big red flag is that you want to expand, but you don't want to manage more people. Well, the more you put the more you add to the game, the more people you're ultimately responsible for. So if you lack a desire to lead and work with people, you again need to go back and look at the why behind the what. What is causing you to seek these other avenues? And is it truly a part of a vision you have of where your gifts lie and your interests ultimately are and where you see yourself in the future? Or are you trying to fill a void that you have in your existing business that needs to be resolved for your fulfillment and satisfaction long before you ever add more stress and strain and responsibilities to your plate?
Extremely well said. Is it where your gifts lie as a part of your vision, or do you just see that Dr. Joe down the road did this successfully, and you think now I'm going to try to do what he or she did? Yep, so true.
Mm-hmm. I love that too, because I say that all the time, and I bet you do too. That figure out what your lane is. What do you want? What do you want to accomplish for yourself, and stop comparing yourself to other people or chasing their technology, chasing their business model, chasing what they're doing because something about their filters on their social media makes it look really great to you. Or you think you should do that, and we're shoulding all over ourselves. And we really have never figured out what would make us happy and what we would consider a success for ourselves. And I think that's the biggest struggle for any business owner in any type of business, right? Really figuring out and getting comfortable in our own skin as business owners of how we're going to measure success for us, and getting in that lane and running that race.
Carrie, I love what you just said about their filters on social media. That's kind of a metaphor. No, it's for everything. Like, that's one reason I kind of stay off social media in general, because you're kind of seeing either somebody's greatest hits reel, they're miserable 90% of the time, but they show you the best, or they're putting things through some filter to make it look better. And it's so true. And when you see that other dentist, it's a cliche, but the grass really is greener on the other side. You don't know what that dentist is going through. You don't know what their personal struggles are. It just looks great when you see, this dentist has 3 locations and he drives a Mercedes convertible. Well, you're not really seeing the whole picture when you see that. It's like the filter on social media. Great metaphor.
It's just true. And, we've all experienced it. We have all, if we're all honest with ourselves, we've all allowed that hook to sink in, and we've experienced it for ourselves in whatever profession or, stage of life we're in. And it's dangerous. If we're not comfortable and confident and really clear on what is satisfaction and success and contentment to us, then we can really be led astray by things that may not necessarily even be true.
Right. Well, I'm glad I finally reached the stage in life where I'm not worried about what other people do or what other people have, or even what other people think of me. That's a big one, right?
It's very freeing.
You'll get there one day. You'll get there one day, Carrie, I promise.
A work in progress. Well, I am loving this so much. I'm loving this so much. Can you give me one more?
Should we do one?
Yeah,
okay,
give me one more. Give me one more.
Okay. For some reason, it seems like dentists will put anybody who can fog a mirror at the front desk and say, here's the phone, answer when it rings, and make that person an appointment. And look, you do front desk training. We do front desk training. But it's amazing how many people have a person in the front desk who is a great person and probably a smart person and somebody who wants to do a great job, but they never had the proper training. And I got to tell you, we do a podcast 2 or 3 times a month. It's called the Dental Practice Fixers. And one of the features is I'll do 2 or 3 secret shopper calls on every episode. And I got to tell you, just last week, I always try to come up with original things to ask. Last week, I called 3 dental offices, and I don't cherry pick the worst or the best or whatever you want to call it. I just do 3 calls in a row, boom, boom, boom. So I tried to come up with a new question. So I called 3 offices and said, I think I'm getting a cavity. Can you recommend a toothpaste that I should use? Now, I called a dental office and said, I think I'm getting a cavity. Not one of them said, you should really come in and have that, have the doctor take a look at that. Not one. I thought it was the softball of softball questions. So front desk people, we need to listen to what these people are saying when they call and do our best for them. What's the best thing we can do for this person on the phone? Well, the best thing you could do for that person is say, please come on in. Let's, offer an appointment, say, let's have the doctor give that a look-see, whatever. But it's amazing how you call a dental office with a question, do you take my insurance? Are you seeing new patients? Where are you located? Oh, can you tell me what it means to have a crown? Whatever it is, all these things are saying out of every single dentist in Oklahoma City or Baltimore or wherever you are, and there are thousands. I picked your office to call with this question, and you're not going to try to get me in the appointment book? It's just scary.
I first of all, I'm impressed that you're doing these calls because in my past, I did some of these for our team, for our advisors, when they say, hey, I think we need to help this practice. Will you do a mystery call? And I would do all of this work before thinking, they're going to take it all the way to scheduling an appointment for me. I'm going to have all of this information to give them. And I never got past my first question because just exactly what you're saying. Either were they not trained? Are they not comfortable or confident? Or are they so distracted and not putting priority and being present in that conversation to really try and engage a conversation with me and take that conversation forward into scheduling an appointment? And I think you're right, because there's either a lack of confidence or we haven't been training up our team members to be successful. We're not prioritizing time to skills together. So we're just hoping that either through past experience or just through on-the-job experience, they're going to miraculously get better. And until we put focus.
And that's when they actually answer the phone. I mean, 40 to 50% of the time during regular business hours, you'll get. If you're getting this message during regular business hours, it means we're busy treating other patients. Click. That's an automatic click. This office is too busy for me. I'm trying to find my new dentist, and it's 11 a.m. on a Tuesday, and they don't even answer the phone. Forget it.
Yes. I mean, if you have a live person calling your office, that is your best opportunity for scheduling an appointment or getting a new patient. I mean, if I have done the work to find your phone number with my question and call you, I am as interested in scheduling an appointment with you as I will ever be. So if we're not putting priority in being the best representation and the best gateway to our practice through the way we're handling patients or potential patients on the telephone, getting comfortable with answering those questions, making sure we're taking the time and being fully focused on that conversation, that is always going to be an obstacle for you. Always.
And you started to talk about this a little bit. Just think about what went into the fact that that exact person picked up their phone and called the number of your office. You know, again, in every major metropolitan area, there are way too many dentists. So for some reason, either you're doing a great job with your external marketing, or you're doing a fantastic job treating your patients well, and one of your patients was kind enough to tell their friend or their colleague about your office, or maybe even you put a lot of thought into your sign and how it looks and the placement of your sign. You did all these things intentionally to get that to make that miracle happen. You know, that person picked up the phone and called your office, and then you're just going to say, you know, you're not going to answer the phone. They're going to get a voicemail, or you're going to say, use a fluoride toothpaste. Thank you. Bye. It's ridiculous.
And I'm always amazed at how many times when I have conversations with doctors that are reaching out, looking for exploring, possibly working together and so on. We were talking about the areas that they're struggling with. How many times I can hear them when I'm working with a patient, I can hear them in the business team having these conversations on the telephone. I can hear the cancellations happening, or I can hear those initial conversations tanking. And it's so frustrating for me because there's nothing I can do about it because I'm right here.
Right.
And, but the question is, you heard it. You couldn't do anything right now then, but what did you do to improve it for the future after the fact? Sometimes that's why they're calling us. But we have to understand that time working on the business of your practice, not just working in it, is equally productive time for you. Because if you work as a team on improving our skill sets, our mindset, perhaps there's some mindset issues about the value of the work that we do, so they don't want to engage with that patient on trying to get them in to see if that truly is indeed a cavity, right? But also that they may not be comfortable or have the skills to have that conversation successfully. And we have to have time as a team to work on that and develop and improve. And that's something that often gets put by the wayside because we think we only, as dental professionals, equate productive time with a patient in the chair.
Exactly. And, think about that person in the front desk. There could be 3 patients lined up staring them down, and there could be an insurance company on hold. And, many times it's just a problem of, do you have adequate staffing on the front desk? But usually it's training. And usually, as you said, when the doctor contacts you because they need some help, they'll say, oh, yeah, Madge has been here for 75 years. The patients love her. She's great. Well, she's probably a great person, but she might benefit from some better training.
Yeah, exactly. And it is often a time management issue. So I like that you said that, because there is so much happening all at once in the business, for the business team in a dental day. So one of the greatest things that those listening could possibly do is to have a team meeting and sit down and talk about What are the different things happening in the day that's getting in our way from being our best in those conversations? And how can we manage our time, manage the flow of the day more appropriately, and support each other so that we can bring the best version of ourselves in the practice in those different aspects, so that those conversations, those telephones, those calls are getting answered, and they're not just getting answered, but they're being answered well.
Totally agree.
Dr. Madow, we have so much more to talk about. Oh, where does the time go? Time flies when you're having a great conversation.
I'll do it again. Just let me know.
I would love that. So before we wrap, we covered a few, and your insights are so powerful, and I just know that our Jameson Files community, those of you listening, you're going to, hopefully you took some great notes and takeaways, and you found one thing that you can go and look into for your own practice to improve. But Dr. Madow, where can people find you and get more of your great teaching and resources?
Oh, well, thanks so much for asking. Our website is madow.com. It's madow.com. It's with one D. This is just relevant to the conversation we just had. We actually have a free downloadable book on our site about how to properly handle these telephone calls, a whole flow chart and all the great stuff in there. It's no charge, no obligation, and that's just madow.com/profit. So madow.com/profit. And if you want to send me a personal email, I would love to hear from you. I answer every email. My email address is rich, R-I-C-H, @Madow, MADOW.com. But Carrie, once again, I just want to thank you for giving me the honor of being on your show. I just have the greatest respect and admiration for Jameson, your whole team, just great people. I've known many of them for I was going to say how many years, but I'll just say for many years. And I'm just glad to see that, again, you and Jess have just done such a great job of really keeping things going, and not only going, but even stronger.
Thank you so much for your kind words, and really, truly, the honor is all mine. Thank you for being a guest with me today, Dr. Madow. I hope all of you listening will go seek out those resources that Dr. Rich shared, and make sure you check out their podcast, The Dental Practice Fixers. That sounds amazing to me, and so I'll find all of you there, spreading the love. And Dr. Rich, to you and to your brother, Dr. David, thanks for all that you do for dentistry, for being a part of today's episode, and here's to continuous great work in the future. Thank you so much for being with me.
It was my pleasure. Thanks.
And thanks to all of you for being with us, whether you're live or listening to us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, or even watching again on the Jameson YouTube channel. Thanks for being a part of the Jameson Files community. If you have a topic or a question that you want us to cover in a future episode, you can email us at podcast@jmsn.com. Be well, be safe. Thanks for joining us. See you next time. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Jameson Files. Visit us online at jmsn.com. You can subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Google Play Music, or Spotify. Do you have questions or topics you'd like for us to answer or cover on the next podcast? Email us at podcast@jmsn.com.